I actually like to joke that I'm a recovering content creator because
I like that.
yeah, and I'm not great at it. I think it's more like wish casting. Like I hope I'm a recovering content creator. But I was at BuzzFeed for almost 5 years, and during that time, I always joke it was like getting my master's degree in the internet in content creation and virality. We're live.
We are live. Um, Welcome everyone. As everyone starts coming in and et cetera, et cetera. I know we've been trying to get this going for a few months now, I think, back and forth to get a live settled. But so glad we were able to get this done. You and I have talked, I think, several times now. We've had the our one quick video call,
Yeah,
which was fantastic. Still integrating some of those ideas that you gave me into the site, by the way. So I actually have
amazing.
a thing I need to screenshot you afterwards
Yeah, I'll send you the
to get your
invoice.
yes, absolutely, please do. Um, but no, man, I obviously give yourself do a little background on you. Create.Repeat is fantastic, but you've been doing a lot more than just Create.Repeat for a good amount of time. Like your resume is stacked, and I think it's just the coolest thing. Like your creativity, and then obviously you have like some really cool stuff going on tomorrow too. But I definitely want to start with this to talk about
Yeah.
that. But yeah, go ahead, man.
Yes.
Give me the intro.
Hi everyone. I'm Zack Evans. I run Create.Repeat, and Create.Repeat. We just like to say that it's a community for creatives. My biggest goal is just to help inspire and encourage creatives, artists. Anywhere that you're at, you could be at the top of your game doing a full time job, or just someone who's a hobbyist. We really believe at Create.Repeat, it's a creative. It's all about the soul of a creative. And so, a little background on me: I've been a content creator from since the day I was born. It seemed like I had a camera in my hand, and I started on making YouTube videos when YouTube was first launched, and doing that whole thing. And I went to film school and did that whole thing, and really thought that I was going to go down this traditional TV and movie route. But my first job out of college, I became a video producer at BuzzFeed. And that just sort of led me down this road of being a professional content creator. I cringe saying it. I actually like to joke that I'm a recovering content creator because
I like that.
yeah, and I'm not great at it. I think it's more like wish casting. Like I hope I'm a recovering content creator. But I was at BuzzFeed for almost 5 years, and during that time, I always joke it was like getting my master's degree in the internet in content creation and virality.
Especially BuzzFeed, they had the
Yeah.
pulse for the longest time in regards to
Yeah.
what it meant to go viral on the internet. So I mean, that without a doubt is a doctorate degree in what it means
Yeah.
to go viral.
Yeah, no, and I was there during the peak, and it was
Exactly.
awesome. It was a lab, it was like part science, part creativity, and I think that is something that I've taken with me as I've left and done other things. But after leaving BuzzFeed, I was pretty burnt out, and I kind of hit this huge depressive episode. I was bouncing around from jobs, being a creative director, and trying to get a television show sold, and got really close to it. And then the pandemic happened, and just, you know, everybody changed their strategy, and I was just sort of left holding the bag. And so I was really, really depressed, and I stopped making things, and I was just miserable for about 2 years. And my wife really encouraged me to start creating, but not as like the performer in me. Cause, I always say that like a creator is, part creative person, but also part performer. Like when you think of
Hmm.
a creator, you think of someone who's front facing. And there's so much baggage that comes with being a front facing person, especially when you start to get a little bit of internet fame and notoriety. And then your real life and your online persona starts to meld together, and you're not quite sure what's real or what's not. And so I was
Mm.
really dealing with that. And my wife really just encouraged me, like, hey, you got to kind of get out of this funk by creating something. And so we had met two friends of ours that we were like, hey, let's start something. Um, we don't know what. Let's just start something. And they like allowed me to just be like, Zach, we trust you. lead the way. And so I just started like we started Create.Repeat as like an anonymous account to just make stuff. And honestly, like it really started that way. It was pretty aimless, and I was just making as much content or art or whatever you want to call it. Like I was just making stuff, and I was posting like 4 times a day, like just putting stuff out there almost as an exercise for myself. And, after about, I would say a couple months, it was probably closer to 6 or 8 months, it started to catch on. And I think that's then when like the BuzzFeed brain in me started to tick a little bit and go, okay, how can we turn this into something? Like I feel like there's a need for this type of content. Like I said, we were just coming out of the pandemic where everything was so pessimistic and everybody was in a dark spot. And you go on Twitter and it's just like just just
Whew.
terrible.
Twitter during
And
the pandemic times will be a
yeah,
research topic for years to come.
yeah, a
Like
hundred
it,
percent.
like doctorate theses will be or like written on like that period of time.
It was just awful, and so, I think also I was just coming off of, like, watching Ted Lasso and being so inspired by, like, the
Okay.
positivity and be like, "You know what? Maybe this is the new wave of being positive," and so, Create Repeat was my experiment to allow to tap into myself, that side of myself, and brush up on my graphic design skills and video editing skills, but putting out a positive message, and by doing that, honestly, it changed me, more than anything. We have like 170,000 followers on Instagram. We have our Substack that's just been growing, and we get a lot of, amazing people in our community giving us great feedback. But honestly, I say that I'm the one who is changed by Create Repeat the most. And it helped me find my love for craft again. It helped me fall in love with the process of the creative process. And
Hmm.
so, that's just like what we're about, like trying to inspire more people to get to that, get back to the why. Why do you create? Why did you start doing this? It's one thing when you have a skill set or talents that all of a sudden turns into a full-time gig. That's really hard because it's the thing that you used to express yourself with is now the thing that feeds your family. And
And
that's
that
hard to
adds so
juggle.
many different connections because you are less likely to take a risk if it gets anywhere near
Yeah,
affecting the way in which you take care of your family. Like that's yeah,
100%.
that's a whole different layer.
Yeah, so that's sort of like what we've been doing. In the meantime, I also, I'm a kind of a YouTube consultant. I talk with different channels and brands and help them with their strategy because that is a huge side of me as well, like, I'm the
Yeah.
Create Repeat is like 50% of me. It's my artistic side, it's my creative side, but then I do have an analytical and business side of me, and so I also do that on the side. So if any other, YouTube channels or brands or companies are looking for someone to help consult on content, I'm your guy, because you
Highly,
gotta pay
highly
the bills.
suggested.
Yeah, you gotta pay the bills. Um, but that's me. But, what we're really excited about, just to jump into this, is tomorrow for those of you that are, watching this now, you get the first sneak peek. But my wife and I are actually releasing a book with Penguin Random House um,
Dude,
tomorrow. Tomorrow's the pre-order start, and we're announcing it. And it's called Create Repeat 365 Days of Creativity. And honestly, it is the thesis of what got me out of my slump. That's what we created a book about. And so it's essentially 365 mini chapters where we give like an inspirational take, but then we give prompts on,
I
something to
love
get
it.
someone out of the someone for someone to get out of their comfort zone or to spark an idea or something. And so it's a lot of, like I think the first one that we write about is called knowing, and it's talking about how there's a word for inspiration that we choose to use, which is knowing. And you understand that when you have an idea, it feels like you're being reacquainted with it. It feels like
Hmm.
you're like, oh wait, I've seen this before. I've met this. I'm discovering it. And so essentially, like, an example would be like we write about that, like explaining what knowing is, and then giving you prompts of like uh what does that mean in your life? Like, what are some things that you know about yourself? Write down a
Right.
list set your timer for 10 minutes and write as many things that you know about yourself. And so hoping that that will then lead to some kind of creativity. And, when we were approached for this book, and I think originally they wanted us and me to like write about my thoughts on creativity and, like, how to be creative, and the first thing I said, I was
Mhm.
like, "You can't, like can't really teach it." Like, you can't I think everybody is inherently creative in their own way and however they
Yeah.
define it, but all we can do is just tee them off and say, like, "Hey, here's some thoughts, go and run with it," and I guess that's what Create.Repeat is, so it's just the book version of that, and we're really excited to send that out into the world. It's scary, nerve-wracking, but, awesome.
No, man, that's awesome. You one, super excited for you guys. Obviously, without a doubt, I think that's a brilliant idea. Like 365 days of creativity in that fashion, because it just works, right? It serves as both a insight and an insight, and then kind of a guide to being able to just get out of your own head to write and create something. Because I even through my own writing here on Substack, I've realized how important that is to my aspect, right? Because I've spent most of my life in the tech field, and with that, I do technical writing. I don't do creative writing. But I can't tell you how happy I've been, how much of a better father, husband I've been, just doing some creative writing here and there because for some reason, it just brings me more alive than I ever could have realized before.
Yeah.
Um, so no, definitely will be grabbing it, not just because you're my friend, just because of the fact that it's a brilliant freaking idea.
Thank you.
Um, um, no, I mean, it also makes me think about, and I'll have to send this to you, and we'll drop it in show notes, but and I'll butcher it, and I know I'll butcher it. I know it's on my Sublime somewhere, but I was listening to this podcast, Dialectic, by Jack, forgetting his last name, but it will be in show notes. And he had interviewed Yancey from Metal Label, and he
Yeah.
expressed that there's this book where it talks about creativity and the way in which we understand it, the word only being actually properly defined. Like I think it was in the um, like it was recent. It wasn't like the last like 50 plus years or something like that. Creativity was actually given a word. And it was stemmed out of this like think tank, military think tank, in regards to trying to find thinkers who weren't the standard institutional thinkers as they were trying to, develop new sciences, develop new weapons, that they were just like, no, we need people who can actually like, you know, be creative. But that wasn't a term they had at that point
Sure.
in time.
Yeah.
And so it's a relatively new concept, but so much of our current working life is around that concept of, hey, you're a creator, you're a creative, you're a recovering content creator. Like creator and being a creative is all a part of the process.
Yep.
And it's fascinating that none of that terminology existed, prior, like only like 50 plus years ago, right? I'll do a better detailed dive into that, but that's what that makes me think of. Because that concept, create and repeat, was not something. It would have been, industrial thinker and repeat. Like,
Yeah. No, for
can
sure.
you? So yeah,
No, and
I mean that's awesome.
I think it's really interesting when someone asks me, like, just basically, how do you define creativity? Which you're like, okay, great first question. But
Yep.
I think what we come back to, and this is actually what a lot of the book is, it's the word permission to me. It's permission,
Mm.
allowing yourself to be creative, allowing yourself to take a risk, allowing yourself to think in a different way. That's all it is. And that's where I really do feel like anyone has the ability to be creative. I don't think there are creatives and non-creatives. I do think like some people have a harder time tapping into it. And I've met those people and I've met certain people that, makes this take invalid, but I do think at the heart of it, it's just about permission and allowing yourself
Yeah.
to do that. And it's scary. It's scary to do that. You think about even like
Oh, it's yeah.
you're in a think tank or something and someone's like, someone pitched me an idea. That's the scariest thing that you can do is step out on a ledge and just say something that you're not sure about. And if you're not in like a safe environment, like every creative room or environment or team that I've led, I try to make it a safe spot because it's so scary to put an idea out there, and trust me, I've looked like an idiot more times than anyone, just talking and saying things, and even to my own wife, like, I'll pitch her an idea, and it's, like, halfway
Oh
through,
yeah.
I see her eyes, like, glazing, and I'm like, "Oh gosh, I'm completely off base here."
Do you know
Uh,
how many times I've been to that same situation? Like
yeah,
the ideas that make it a Substack and the ideas I have to go through my Jaleesa filter, my wife's filter, are the stack is like this, right? Like the
yeah,
filters that go through her and the filters that actually make it through completely different. Like
100%. That's but yeah, you just gotta you I guess, like, and that's, like, sort of the crux of, like, create repeat is you need to step out and get over your fear of it, step out, be brave, create something, say something, try something new, and then do it again. We say that all the time. It's like the create isn't the hard part, repeat is the hard part.
Oh,
Doing
is
it
it ever?
over and over again, and we found the more that and this is something I learned at BuzzFeed, the more you create, the less precious you get about things, and you just are constantly pushing out there, and you're able to generate more ideas and attract more ideas because you're pushing it out there, and it becomes this cycle. And I think, like,
Um,
that's what's clear about it, and I know so many people, and I've been this person who you are so precious about your work, you never wanna release it, you never wanna let it go, and then all of a sudden years have passed, and either you're stale on the idea, or it just feels stagnant, or you still are holding out hope for it, but the idea has passed or the time has passed for it, and I think it's so important to act on the creativity when you have that idea to do something and get it out, and I think that is maybe the one positive of our current internet culture is that we have an outlet to do that, um, but,
we have
it's
all
like
the space in the world to be wrong, and no one's
it
actually gonna double check us most of the time.
exactly, but man, on my podcast, I had this musician on, and he said I asked him about it because he makes, like, 3 TikToks a day, and I was asking him about musicians, how they have to be content creators nowadays, like, you just have to in
Yeah.
order to make it, and I asked him, like, "How do you deal with that failure? Because a lot of your stuff flops," and he's like and it was the most, like, basic, but, like, this philosophy that just, like, cut deep into my heart. He was like, "If no one sees it, no one saw it." And I was like, "Okay, that's
Okay.
pretty good to think of if it's not like a
Yeah.
million people are like, like, you can post something, it gets 1,000,000 views, and you go, 'Wow, 1,000,000 people saw it.' But if you post something and it only has 1,000 views, that doesn't mean that 1,000,000 people saw it and didn't like it. It just means they didn't see it." And so I think that's been a big, um unlock for me as, just pushing stuff out there and just knowing like, "Hey, I'm just gonna keep doing my thing and just keep posting stuff or and expressing and that because that's my form of
Right.
how I am currently creating is through a lot of this online content." I just push it out there and get it out of my system and knowing that like, okay, maybe the better thing is tomorrow. Maybe the next idea is actually the best one and trying to chase that.
No, I love it, because it makes me think, one of the things I've had recently, I'm a coder by definition, but definitely one of the things that has always been so hard for me when I pick up a side project is that I get very invested in the technical, like, details that I've built. But, for better or worse, with code generation, with AI code generation, I can spin up a side project now within seconds, and I'm way less invested in that code. I can
Yeah.
immediately scratch it, redo it. If I don't like the way the interface plays, I can change it all. If, the logic that I thought I was going with is completely out of bounds, I can just wipe it all and I have no fear in regards to letting that go. And so, like, yeah, there's a lot to be said to that. I don't think that's the same for my writing. I think there's a lot of Obsidian notes that are still just like almost like fully specked out pieces, and I am
Yeah.
very attached to them. Like I'm attached to them in ways and concerned about them in others, and so I need to get to that point where my words now that I'm getting to that point with, like, my coding and my side projects, I hope to get to that point with my essays and my writing and my creative process, my creative side projects as well. But I find I'm more invested in those than I am in my coding projects now, which is crazy because the
Yeah,
coding projects
interesting.
are what I do for a living. And so
Yeah.
but I have so much more focus into the things that are in the creative process, and so, yeah,
It's
I
just like I've said it too, like, I write a Substack post once a week when sometimes we're on a hiatus from our paid posts, but we do, like, an advice column as well, so I was doing 2 a week for the longest time for, like, the first 6 months of this year, posting pretty much daily content on which I'm writing and I'm designing, and we were writing a book during this whole time. And it's just like content, all that stuff. But like the thing that I've been working on a screenplay for 10 years. And I can't even like and that's the thing I'm the most passionate about. And I have made like very minimal progress on it in the past year alone. And it's not that I don't have time. It's because I'm so precious about it. I'm like, this is my Oscar. This is my magnum opus. And I know I need to take my own advice, and maybe that's something I do after this book's out, of just going like, "Hey, you wrote a damn book. Like, you
You
can
wrote a damn book.
you can, like,
Like,
go do a screenplay, like, go just get a first draft done."
do you
But
know how
I
many Substack writers like in this chat and then every other like notes, like every Substack writer who posts a note, I guarantee you has a book in draft that has been there for years. Like to the point
100%.
where the so like you wrote a damn book. You could definitely do a
Yeah.
screenplay.
And dude, the book wasn't even on our radar. Like, I'm not trying to. I know
Yeah.
the Substack audience, we're all writers here, so I'm really not trying to be
You
like, it
yeah, that
fell in
tell
my
that lie.
lap. But it's been one of those things where I've been a writer for my whole life. I've written for the internet and TV and all that stuff, and was really trying to make this happen. And the book, I think maybe because it wasn't the first love, it came so much
Hmm.
easier to me, and the process has been so easy. Whereas, I had in like 2018, I sold a script to Comedy Central, and that process was pulling teeth. It was so hard. The notes, the revisions, the whole process of it was just, I was sitting there going like, this isn't for me. This is not fun. Writing is terrible. And the book side of it has been the complete opposite to me. And it just reminds me of that feeling with the subfact of knowing like, "Hey, let's just everything okay?"
Yeah. Ice.
It just yeah,
Getting ice.
yeah, it's good. But yeah, no, I just think, like, there's something about that when, maybe I don't know, the things that you love the most and you're so precious about, it's sometimes those side projects that are the ones that actually take off because you're less precious about it.
I'm not precious about it. I wonder what that
Mhm.
says in regards to um like I always think back to like the Renaissance thinkers and the different like projects, right? Like you read a Da Vinci bio and it's just like every week he was dropping something new, and I'm just like
Yeah,
I wonder I wonder in general how often and how much of their work they were precious about, like that stuff that was
yeah,
their magnum opus that just didn't get released, right? Or was lost in notebooks, never found.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, I think the repeat part of your process is amazing because it gets us
yeah.
all out of our heads
Most
and
most artists die poor. Like,
isn't that
that's just a
yeah,
fact.
yep.
Especially, like, if you are talking Renaissance or just, like, more traditional artists, most of them died poor. Most of them weren't appreciated in the time, and that didn't stop them. I know that that might not be the pep talk that you wanna hear, like, "Oh, cool. I might just, like, let me
I
post all
might
these
yeah.
Substacks, and then I'll die poor, and then eventually a few of them will blow up, and my family can benefit off that or exploit it," however you wanna look at it, but, like, that's just I think, like, it's the act of creation that is the thing that you should chase, people should chase, and that the second I shifted that in my brain of, like, I just wanna create something today, I have no idea. When I worked at BuzzFeed, I had to make a video. I had to make 6 videos a month, just myself, and then I was responsible for being in my partner's videos, and he had 6. So together we had to do 12 a month. And the amount of Mondays I had driving to the office in a full-on panic attack because I had no idea what the video was gonna be for that day, and I had to have something. It was like SNL, where it's like the show you have to upload. Tuesday, if
Yeah.
you don't have something by Tuesday at end of day, like, you're gonna get fired. You have to have something, and it needs to hit 1,000,000 views. It needs to perform. And I had so much anxiety because of that. I I health problems, everything. I was hospitalized for a moment because I was just so stressed out about it, and the second that it turned in front of the, "I have to do this," to, "I get to do this," and I know that sounds so cliche. I feel like I'm just like Gary V right here talking to you about it, but, like, that is, like,
No.
what helped me of, like, "Oh, I get to do this. I get to." I'm a forced morning person now. I wake up at 5 AM every day, and that's mostly when I write,
Mm.
and if you told me that 2 years ago, I'd be like, "You're psycho, like, that's
You got
crazy, I
like
like my sleep."
8 months
But
left
now
to be
that's
able to be a forced morning person.
yeah.
Just as a note.
Yeah, but now it's the thing that I look forward to the most of waking up and creating something for me before I do anything else in the day, and I don't know how realistic that is for everybody. And I know, like I said, my wife's pregnant. We're expecting a baby in November. Uh, and I don't know how many more, days I currently
Mornings.
have of just
Yeah.
kind of, yeah, mornings to myself with a nice cup of coffee. But I'm currently enjoying it and taking it as I get to do this right now for this season. And it's just been so helpful for me.
No, I love that, man. I love it. You'll have mornings, you'll have nights maybe.
Yeah.
You don't sleep much, so I mean, you'll be able to write. I don't know how much your writing will make sense
Right.
with the sleep deprivation, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Once you
Please
I
stick
can
with
just
me.
see
I'm just glad the book's already done.
exactly. Listen, you could just post book content for a few weeks. We'll
Yeah.
we'll we'll still be here. No worries.
Yeah.
All right. So one of the questions I know I have for you is I one because of how much I love the repeat mindset as a whole. How do you get to that point, like thinking process? Like, how do you make sure that with all of the content like that you have in front of you and all the ideas that you could pull from, how do you make sure that your thinking process stays in a place that allows you to do the create and repeat like methodology? Yeah, oh my gosh, yeah, method. Um, because I know for a fact, right? Like, with how much content's available for us, and I'm sure you have to be plugged into a good bit from Substack to Instagram to Twitter, etc. How do you not get infected by those ideas, or how do you let those ideas come in, but then also make sure they don't directly affect the create repeat process?
That's a great question. The first thing is I try not to consume the type of content I create, and I've always been like this, where and I think you'll hear this a lot with, like, comedians, and so when I was on that path of comedy and going there, I rarely watched comedy. Watched a lot of drama because I didn't wanna be I it's like doing math homework. When you're so, like, for when I was trying to develop a TV show, I love sitcoms. I grew up watching sitcoms, I wanted to
Yeah,
have my own, and so but the second that I was in it, developing sitcoms, thinking about structure and joke per minute and all that stuff, it was watching a sitcom was like doing math homework, so it wasn't enjoy I've peeked behind the curtain, so I haven't enjoyed it, and so that's a huge thing for me, so anything that is, like, in the similar realm of create, repeat, and all that stuff, I tend to not fully interact with it, or if I do, I'll see, like, a piece or something, or I'll see something that inspires me for a moment and go, "That's awesome," but then I just kinda keep it moving, and I just know because, you know, uh, I see a lot of it, it's really hard because it's a two-pronged thing where when you're starting out, you need to imitate people. You have to.
right.
Like,
Yeah,
that is how you get good at something, is just by, like or you teach yourself how to do it, is you essentially copy other people. You copy style, you copy cadence, you copy voice, like, all that stuff. And the hope is that and how what I think we all do is, like, we have our influences, our 4 or 5 things, and that all combined together is what makes you your unique voice plus your lived experience. I think there's too many people, especially like in the content space, that just rip off things. And I think it's getting easier and easier to do because of the AI tools and everything. And now you have, you know, the more like tech bro, like capitalist type that are like, oh, I can do this now too. And I'm going to show you how to get rich and I'm going to try to sell you courses. I'm going to do all that stuff.
bruh.
That,
Every
that's,
YouTube page feels like it's just trying to pitch me a course that it's trying to sell.
yeah.
Lately, it
Yeah,
feels nuts.
and I get it. It's like you have to if you wanna make a living off this, there's that, but, like, I think what drives me crazy is how many courses are about, like, how to make money on
Selling
YouTube or on
courses,
these platforms, and then it's about sell courses, and sell courses about how to sell courses, and so,
courses.
like, that to me is like, what are we doing? Is like, I
You
understand,
know
like,
what?
the economy's up and down, but oh my gosh.
Light bulb moment. I'm gonna start making videos on how to sell courses on how to sell courses on how to sell courses.
Yeah,
Like
I think
instantly,
that's cool.
right?
And ironically
Absolutely.
enough, I had like a year where I worked at this startup company that was essentially like masterclass, but for like internet, like YouTube and like how to create a online business. And this was like 2017, 18 time.
Mhm.
And So I've done the whole course thing. Like I've taken a course on how to launch a course. Like I understand that, but it's just really funny how that's
We've all
become.
done it. We've
Yeah.
all done it at this
But
point.
go back to your full question. I just try to I try to have other interests outside of what I do because I think that's what makes people interesting.
Mhm.
Is just like not I think the create repeat is like that is that's a side of me that I have for like 25% of the day and then for the other 75% of the day I'm using the other sides of me because that's what makes humans so interesting is you have the different perspectives and something that we learned at BuzzFeed that they taught was you can't teach perspective. You can teach someone how to write. You can teach someone how to design. You can teach someone how to edit a video, but you cannot teach someone's own perspective, their own lived ability, and their own lived ability. That's not a word. Their own,
Good.
their own, living experience and their own, influences all meshed into one. That's what makes someone unique. And so the more you lean into that and lean into your own lane, um, the better. And then you can copy or steal things like structure or learn from the greats. That's what all people do. That's the whole steal like an artist book is about, like learn from
I
the
don't know. I
greats and
think with
steal.
the current Substack temperature, most people are trying to avoid the word steal right now.
I know it's wild. And you know what, like I always get a little like when I see that I always get a little like who's to say, like, I don't know, like, what is this? It's all internet content. Like, I do think there's some kind of like free market thing, but then you're like, the girl just full on was like, yep, I ripped her off. It's like, wow, okay.
Man,
We're just doing that. That's insane. I understand like coincidences. I've had that in myself. I've been on both sides of it where there's
yeah,
been some kind of coincidence and you're like, okay, cool. I've had SNL. I feel like rip me off completely, but you just charge it to the game. But something like that, you're like, oh, that's full on. There's people flat out stealing. That's nuts. Yeah.
that's crazy that SNL stole from you, but we'll definitely talk about that in
Yeah.
greater detail.
It's one of those where you're like, what can I do? And they did it better. You're like, ah, it's just
Yeah,
my joke, but they took it and ran with it. But I'm
they took it
pretty
and ran with it. Sometimes that
yeah.
happens. At least they didn't like, rip it entirely and also have somebody like pretend to look like you while doing
Right.
the joke. Because
Right.
that would be insane.
Yeah.
Uh, but no, I very much agree. I always say this to like interns or new people out of like the computer science treadmill that is university. I think I've stolen more code than I've written, and that's just purely because of the fact that for most times it's just the most efficient pathway.
Yeah.
Um, and so it was one of the things I was thinking about when I read even that situation that was going on. And then there's another video that I read that I watched on YouTube recently that I'll also link into this, but it talked about universities and their issues with AI, and just not just that, but like the premise of university as a whole in regards to the fact of it being a treadmill to get people from lower paying jobs to higher paying jobs, and that being the promise, right? And how even
Yep.
professors are leveraging it, and essentially like if you haven't seen yet, there have been like countless articles from different universities where students are reporting their professors for using ChatGPT to grade their
Yeah.
papers, and then like
Yeah.
literally seeing like the
It's
ChatGPT
everyone.
output, like
Yeah.
and I think it just explains so much. What AI I think does really well, unfortunately, is it just shows how little we care around certain things, and how little we actually even want to be doing any of this, right? Because we're all bought into the overall capitalistic idea because of the fact that we benefit from it in some types of fashion.
Mhm.
But AI blatantly shows that hey, you only care about the outcome. You don't actually care about doing the work. And I think another reason why I love Create Repeat is just because you just keep repeating. And I think when you have something like the Substack situation going on with the plagiarism, I am sure that it's not the only Substack account that is literally ripping off of someone else's old articles or blogs, etc. And it's not going to be the last because people at the end of the day, they only care about getting that orange or purple check mark that says, I make money off of this. And
Yeah.
then once you get big enough, it doesn't matter, right? Like Substack has, from my understanding, has not made a point on this yet. Yeah, some of the following, I guess, in her account has gone down. People have prepared. in regards to like the little thing that says how many subscribers you have. Orange check mark is still there though. So as far as that, it's not has not
Yeah.
decreased. And so it goes into this point of how much do you actually care to do the repeating process of the work, or even the creating process. People can easily repeat stealing,
Yeah.
but how much do they actually care to continue to create? And I can tell you personally, I think the more reason why I steal more code than I actually write or borrow is because for me, coding has never been the outcome, especially when it comes to job. It's more so I'm doing this thing because it takes care of my family,
Yeah.
and the only time I actually care about what I'm coding is when it's a side project that I'm genuinely interested in. And same thing with university, with writing, with being a creator on the internet as a whole. If you don't actually enjoy the process and are okay with repeating the process, you are more likely to just steal the outcomes of others just because you want to get to the point where you're now a content creator and you're making X amount of money off of people's eyes and attention. And I think it also says a lot to us as audience because if we accept that, if we see the plagiarism article, say like the plagiarism article did not take off as it did, right? Say people read it, say we got views, but people just ignored it. That was a possible outcome as well.
Yeah.
That probably would have been the outcome in a platform like Twitter or even Blue Sky or even Instagram. That probably would have been the outcome, complete ignorance. I think because of Substack and because of the fact that majority of these users are writers and creators, that's the reason why it caught fire and
Yeah.
was able to bring that other person to bear. But there are tons of other small creators probably in that same field that could do that same article and that same, hey, this person ripped it off word for word and still not get the eyes necessary.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I
It's so
man,
fascinating, especially I mean, like you said, like on Substack, because it is a platform for writers and creators. Like we all are doing it. So like when you read something, it goes through a different filter, right? Like
yeah,
you're not just a passive consumer as if someone on YouTube, right? Like a lot
yeah,
of, I think it's like there's the creators, like I think it's like not even 1% of like YouTube accounts are creators. Like it's everyone else is just passive watchers of it. And so that's where it's a little where it gets different and when you're watching it. I just hope this doesn't encourage people to try it. I think there's a way where like you can be inspired by people, you can learn from people,
absolutely.
but don't full on like rip a take in exactly like verbatim things. Like or if you do like quote them and then give your response on it. It's really not that hard. Um, especially like when you're doing your own thing. I think like where I see this a lot actually is in advertising.
Mhm.
You watch commercials or something and it has like a tired joke that was popular on Twitter like 4 months ago. That's the stuff that bothers me because it's clearly like and I've been in those meetings, man. I've worked with agencies and all that, and like you need an idea and you're just pitching whatever the meme of the week is. And to me, I I don't like that. I think that's wrong, where it's like, okay, so you didn't even come up with this like joke or concept and you're just benefiting off it to promote, you know, what a laundry
Or when they
detergent.
hire people who are popular in the mainstream for a moment, and they're just like, "Hey, come do this ad for me."
Yeah,
One, I'm cool with that person getting a check normally, but that brand as a whole in my mind just kind of goes down because I'm just like, Brett, like no one
we get
really
it.
tried here.
Yeah.
You were riding a wave and you had the money to ride it, and that's it.
And those
But I
people
think to
are
your
getting
point,
paid a lot.
yeah, they're getting paid a lot. You have a problem with that. I don't think like many people do, unfortunately. And
Uh,
especially like you say, like YouTube, for example, most people are just watchers.
yeah,
They don't care if the content 100% is great. And I think that we see that over and over again. Even with like I read recently in regards to like you make videos and you make high quality videos. You've been in film school. I've seen constantly articles about how Instagram accounts making these AI like videos or something like that are making thousands of dollars a month, insane. But also, they're making those articles and making those headers because it makes people who want to make $1,000 a month off of AI video draws to that attention. And who doesn't want to do that because that seems easy and simple, and the outcome is money.
yep.
So, yeah,
And the people writing the articles are getting paid off that as well. Yeah, that's
exactly.
just like the problem of like content as a business. Even though it's like I've dedicated my life to it, it's just so
Yeah.
it's so difficult, and, like, we are just generating so I mean, I don't wanna get into the specifics, but, like, the discourse of online commentary the past, like, week and a half has just been insane to me. Everyone has, like, crazy huge opinions over, honestly, like, things that don't matter, and, like, we're making it because I feel like it's one of those things where it's like, "Okay, what's the thing this week? Oh, here it is. Let's do all of our think pieces. I'm gonna go hard this side, you're gonna go hard that side. Someone's gonna go how you're both wrong." Like, that's how it all is, and we generate these things, and it's like, who are the people feeling it? Like, uh, the people who are benefiting it off it are it isn't us who the consumer,
Yeah.
but like you were saying too, like, I think, maybe this is like the sad side of me, and like when we especially when we talk about AI and everything, but I feel like and it's so hard to have this conversation with all creators because we think a certain way, but majority of the world, they're consumers and they don't
Mhm.
care about craft. We care about craft. We care about the process because when you do something and you realize how hard it is, you respect a person who does it so well. You respect them even more, right? Like I could look here and be like, "Oh, Michael Jordan is the best basketball player in the world," but someone who actually is like played and done that, they're like, "No, you have no idea how much better he is." Because of so like that's how I look at things, but like when we're talking about AI coming in, I really am curious to see like I empathize and I get it from the creative side. I don't
Mhm.
love it. Um especially when we're talking about like are there going to be AI generated movies and everything. I full on think
Yeah.
of course there are because all it's gonna take is for there to be one that is
Whew.
passably good, then
Yes.
all of a sudden, every studio is gonna go, "We don't care about these unions we have deals with. We don't care about anything. We're just gonna keep churning this." I just saw today Amazon invested in, I forget what the company's called, but the product's called Showrunner, where
Oh,
it's a
yeah.
yeah, it's an AI tool where, like, essentially you can create your own show, and I think that's where that's where we're heading. Do I think that would be the death of human made creativity? No.
Mhm.
I think it's just going to create another genre that you can either be into it or not. I really do feel like it's similar to the rise of reality TV. And like I talk about this with
Yeah.
especially because like when the I have a bunch of friends who are TV writers, and you know, a couple years back there was the big writer strike, and the big point of topic was AI, and they're afraid that they're going to get replaced.
Yep.
Uh, they worked out their deal, to be honest. I think it's a terrible deal. I think it's up next year. Like, it just bought the studios more time to learn about these AI projects and go, "Can we actually replace the writers? Who knows? Do we need a team of 12 writers, or could we just have 2 plus AI?" Um but that whole thing but, like, during there was a writer strike in the early 2000s. If you're like a it was, like, during the Lost era and, like, Friday Night Lights, they all, like, kind of went off the rails for, like, a season, and it was like, "What's going on?" And there was a big writer strike, and during that strike, that was the rise of reality TV where all the network shows started putting their prime time, like, The Survivors or Deal or No Deal, fully upfront on the primetime, nightly
Hours.
schedule,
Yeah.
and then that was also the beginning of the Kardashian era, and everything that came there and everything that Bravo has and all that stuff that's so popular, it came from that moment of the writer's strike when scripted television stopped for a second, and it stopped during the summer when they're already light on scripted content. What that did was it built that. Did it take away scripted content? No, there's now just
No.
a
Yeah.
genre that's equally as big in its reality, and I think that's what's gonna happen with the AI generated stuff, and I
Mm.
my hope is that it's actually gonna get we're going to get better made human, uh, created pieces of art and work, and I think, you know, this is my controversial take, but it's like Avengers 19, if that's gonna be fully AI, whatever. Sure, that's fine, but, like, if we're gonna get and I know it's controversial.
Marvel?
I know, but,
Marvel,
like,
no. Please
also
just no.
I'd argue, like, is it already not kind of that? Like, you watch you know, like, like, last Spider-Man, which I loved, by the way, was, like, all,
Absolutely.
like, 90% blue screen, green screen, and they weren't ever in the same room together, and so it's, like, the way that it's, currently created, but at the end of the day, you didn't care about that watching it, right? Like, when you watch the final
No.
product, you go, "This is good. I don't care if these humans are not in the same room interacting with each other. I'm fine with them if they're piecing this together. But I think it's going to create this whole other genre, but then more of those like smaller movies that aren't made anymore, the Goodwill Huntings of the world. I think those movies will start to gain popularity, movies that are specifically about humanity as a whole, or the big spectacle stuff.
Interesting. Yeah.
I think the end of spectacle is coming. Just because part of it was so cool. It was like, wow, this looks amazing. But if everything looks amazing, if you can generate something on your computer, by yourself that looks incredible, where you're Superman and you're flying around and you can do all this stuff, those kinds of movies don't really matter as much anymore. You don't want to go pay to see that. You might go pay to see the opposite. And so I think it's going to be the rise. It's going to be my biggest comp is when streaming music became as popular and we all have Spotify at the same
Yeah.
exact time that Spotify had their like first like really record breaking year. That was the highest number of physical media sales for records.
Really?
Yes, so like that's something that, and you remember that, when all of a sudden it's like, oh, everybody has a record player, we're buying that, or thinking about
Yeah.
how as iPhone cameras have gotten so much better, film photography has come on a rise. Like me, all my friends, we all have like analog uh cameras because we miss these
The
photos
analog
are
feel.
too
Yeah.
the photos are too perfect now. We want that analog, we want the imperfection, we're not going to take 30
Mm.
pictures. We just want the one picture and you get what you get. And so I do think when it comes to entertainment and media, we're going to see that kind of trend. Like you're going to get overserved a bunch of AI slop. There's probably going to be some good AI stuff. I'm sorry. Someone's going to, someone is going to
Someone's going
crack.
to Yeah, someone's gonna master that skill, and
Yeah,
then be able to produce something that is of a higher caliber.
a
I think to
hundred
your
percent.
point,
Yeah,
it reminds me of that time when Avatar first came out, the James Cameron movie,
yeah,
right? And it showed the depth of what can be done with a computer and a movie and creatives working together. And then every movie after that was like, we have to get some of that Avatar vibe. Like
yeah.
we gotta figure out what that is. I would argue, and I also would argue this point that Marvel wouldn't have happened in the way it does now if it wasn't for Avatar doing so well.
I
And
agree.
like
That's good.
it and just and so to your point, there'll eventually be an avatar moment for AI movies, and that will be terrifying. But at the end of the day, it will also just create a new category for content.
Yeah,
Um,
you know, we'll
yeah.
see. We'll see if like
Okay.
people, the audience will tell, man. Like,
Yeah.
I think like I'm in LA. I'm with all of my friends are creatives, all that stuff. We're like, no, this will never catch on. And I have to remind people, like, well, the number one network in America is CBS. And like NCIS does like Super Bowl numbers. And like The Big Bang Theory was like the number one
I
comedy
mean,
for
deserving. Yeah.
the longest time. And it's like, but like that's where it's like I feel like sometimes like people in the comedy space were like, that show feels hacky where I really like this niche, really smart comedy. And it's like, yeah, but the
Mm,
population wants the bigger,
fame.
obvious
Yeah.
thing. And so I think that's what's gonna be interesting as we watch that. Like, how does this play out? Because a lot of people don't care how the sausage is made. Unfortunately.
They don't. They
Unfortunately.
really don't.
Yeah.
They absolutely don't. Like not even a little bit. Like they just don't care. I find myself in that. I think universally we can find ourselves in that same boat, depending on the take, right? Like I have strenuously cut down my YouTube, and focus in on videos from creators I genuinely enjoy and that I feel bring high quality content. But in the same time, I will um, what was it that I was doing the other day? Oh, watch like the crappiest anime just in the background while
Yeah.
for white noise, right? It's like terribly written. It's animation from the early 2000s without any actual heart, no character development. I just don't care. And so with that being the case, I just genuinely want the sound of it while I'm doing something else. And I think very much that will be everyone has that, right?
Yeah.
As much as I love the output of an analog camera and when I see the photography that you do or someone else does, it's, oh, that's great. I'm still gonna use my iPhone camera to take all the photos of
Sure.
my kids, and so
You can have
I think
both.
again,
You can have both.
you can you can do both. and I think again that's what AI does really well. It tells us what we care about, and especially when the content that's coming out now, you either care or you don't, and then or you only come out about the outcome. So yeah, that
Yeah.
yeah,
It's we're going into, like, a really strange time. That's it, and that's I think that's a whole other thing with, like, with Create.Repeat where I just see it coming and knowing, like, "Hey, this can be a safe space for creators." Like, I am going to tell you, like, straight my opinion on this stuff, or, like, knowing that, like, just because I think this doesn't mean I want it to happen. Like,
yeah,
that's the whole thing with the AI stuff, even when we're talking about, like, I think Marvel movies will be fully that, or I think actors will be work from home, and
that'd be insane.
they'll just be on a Zoom call. I mean, we're probably, like, 2 years away from that, maybe less. Uh, and,
Like
you
little
know,
at home platforms that they just like walk into, like a phone booth recording
they
type
might not
thing,
even
where
have
it's
to
just
walk
like
into it. They might just be on a Zoom call reading the script, giving their facial expressions. It goes, "That's good enough for us. Thank you. We'll take it from here."
we'll
And
see you at the premiere.
yeah, it's just gonna be it's gonna be a weird time, and I'm pretty active on LinkedIn, even though I think it's, like, just crazy toxic.
That
But
was the other one I was talking about.
y
I sometimes will scroll LinkedIn for just no obscene reason at all. But yeah,
I hate it, but I also, like, love it because it just shows me a different side of the world where I'm like, "Okay, there are a lot of people who think this," or if you wanna talk about AI generated content, just go through LinkedIn and you'll just see
scroll through LinkedIn
all the AI
constantly.
posts, and they're all just, like, wishy-washy slop about nothing, or, like, the stupidest take about, like, "I just broke my foot, here's what it taught me about B2B sales," that kinda stuff.
Bruh,
It
yes. I just
Yeah.
broke my foot and here's what it told me.
And you're like, "Who's this for?" Like, it's just for people that are, like, supposed to be working, scrolling through LinkedIn,
Yes.
but like I said, like, I've been, the one of the companies I worked for Cameo, all of the founders and a lot of their, like, first, like, leadership team came from LinkedIn, and so it was kind of shoved down our throat, like, the importance of LinkedIn, so that's when I started, like, "Okay, anytime I'm posting about something, I will post." So I post
On
about the
LinkedIn.
newsletter there, I post about on a newsletter and on LinkedIn, and so, but it's just such a different crowd, and the AI takes I see there are, like, complete opposite of Substack.
Absolutely.
It's like, "Oh,
Absolutely.
I can't wait for this
Man,
to wipe out every single creative," and I'm just like, "Okay, wow, alright, we don't need to, like, Anakin Skywalker, like, Order 66 here, like,
like
this
walking
is."
into the daycare and just taking out all
Yeah,
the creatives, like that's not what we need
that's
to do. But
that's how
yeah.
some people feel, and I just,
LinkedIn has all of that.
it's all that.
It's the executives who have been told all of, like for too long that creatives were important to the mission, and now they're just like, ah, see,
Yeah,
like not anymore. We don't need
yeah,
developers. We don't need creatives. All we need is executives. like
100%, and like,
that's it.
okay.
That's all LinkedIn is.
Okay, and then I saw, like, someone that I know that's, like, an executive, like, they posted on LinkedIn, like, "Hey, can anyone give me tips on how to, like, make an AI generated ad? For some reason, like, every time I keep trying, like, I'm just not getting the results that I want." And I almost
Wonder
commented, like,
why.
"You need something called taste." Like, if you don't know what you want, like, because I think that's the big joke where it's like creatives will always have a job because the executives who want something, they're not gonna learn how to explain what they want. So you're not like,
Mm-mm.
if you can't do it to a human, you're sure as heck not gonna be able to do it to an algorithm, a computer. Like,
You cannot. They will
no,
not. They
no.
just
So
will not do it. We're
yeah,
safe. We're all safe for
yeah,
until
we're
that
fine.
computer can figure it out itself, which is still a distance away,
Yeah,
and a few different energy problems that must be solved before that even begins to happen.
100%.
We're good. We're good.
Oh, yeah. And,
But
who
Marvel
knows?
11 will definitely be AI generated.
Yeah,
That that is
that
for
will be.
sure.
Yeah.
Um, Avengers 11. That's insane, but yeah, it will be.
It'll just be called Avengers 11 too. They'll just give up on, like, creative titles.
Of course they will, because they'll be able to make it in like 5 minutes, and it
Yeah.
will still do record numbers. But
Yeah,
no,
100.
man.
Yeah.
Well, man, this has been absolutely fantastic. Um, I appreciate you joining me for sure. And definitely send me links to the pre-order for the book,
Yeah.
so we can go ahead and post after. Um, But yeah, man, anything else to tell the rest of everyone else before we hop on?
I think that's just it. Thank you so much for having me. Create Repeat 365 Days of Creativity is out in November. You can pre-order it starting tomorrow. And yeah, just thank you for having me. We need more, more people like you out in the world. I love everything that you and your pals are doing. And yeah, let's keep it going.
I agree, man. Same, same. Well, I appreciate it. Everyone else have a fantastic day.
All right.
All right.
See ya.
Bye.